minimalists.
I heard you talk about your marriage and how COVID may have saved it in a way. The pandemic, the quarantine may have saved it.
Yeah.
May have illuminated some things you weren't aware of.
Yes. You know, I have been a touring comic for a long time.
Let's paint that picture. What does that look like? You're on the road how many days a year? How many weeks a year?
I would tell you the last 3 years in particular, I've been hitting it pretty hard, and I would say anywhere from 40 to 46 weeks.
Wow.
Woo.
Wow.
And so, but it seemed, okay, if you back it up a little bit, what I've realized more and more the longer I'm in Hollywood, which is one of the reasons that we're moving, is that no matter how successful you get, you always feel like you need to be on the wheel. This town keeps you on the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
This town combined with social media, because you're constantly looking at people who have more, who are doing better. That's constantly what you're being shown. You need this is cool, but you shouldn't be satisfied with this because this is next.
Yeah.
And that's right. I'm going to rest next weekend after I get this. And then you get that and you're like, ooh, if I work a little harder, I get this, right? And this town really keeps people on the wheel like that. It's how they keep the machine going.
Yeah.
It's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough.
Right.
So, and as a comic, you know, or especially early on, we work for chicken fingers. There is a different comic mentality, which is, I'm going to take this gig because I don't know if it's going to be the last gig I ever get.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just that we're like, I'm taking this one. I'll rest next weekend. So you know how long the dry years are. And then you know there comes a point in time in your life where people are like, I don't want to see that fucking old dude. Do you know what I mean? So in your brain, you're like, I have this finite amount of time. I am going to go as hard as I can. So I was doing all of these weeks and I would tell my wife, you know, but we need the money for this. Or, you know, I just need the money for this. And every gig.
And those aren't lies, by the
No.
way.
And
we can make up these stories.
100%. It wasn't like I was saying we don't need to save money or we don't, right? But every next gig became the most important. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Like every next gig was like, we do need this one because this.
Yeah.
And we had gotten used to an abnormal life being normal. We had gotten used to being apart and living apart. So when quarantine came, neither one of us realized that was what was happening to our lives. And we talked about all the time about how much we love each other and we have this great relationship. And I think it was just talking points. And then the first 2 weeks was like a honeymoon.
No.
Thriving.
That's great.
And then after those 2 weeks, it was like, hey, when are you going to leave me the fuck alone? Like, I'm not used to you being here.
And this is both of you saying this.
We were used to. So what she had ended up telling me was, you know, when you used to come home and the kids were young, I did not look forward to you coming home. I looked forward to seeing you, but we had a flow. You upset the apple cart every time.
Oh, wow.
And then I had to come and reset that shit. Not that I was coming home and doing anything bad, but I have my energy and she has hers. And she sets up her house to have her flow when it's just her and the kids, which was a lot of the time. So I would come home and fuck that up. And then, so my kids are older. So we became empty nesters. And that's when it really became her life, my life. And together, when I was home, I was back on the wheel. So it wasn't like I was together and home and present. I was doing shows, I was doing gigs, I was taking meetings, and she was having her life. And we had just gotten used to that. And so quarantine made us realize how unhappy we were.
Wow.
With each other. To being, you know what I mean? I was just like, yeah, you know, I shouldn't be upset with you when you walk into the room and I'm by myself drinking coffee and you sit down and you're like, how's it going? I shouldn't be upset that you're in my space because we're married. Like, I want to be with you. But I was so used to being by myself, it was the same thing. Like, she was upsetting my flow that I set for myself, which is I do what I want during the day. I don't really have anyone else to. It's not that I'm out with hookers and coke, but like I do what I want during the day because I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And we had to relearn how to be together and figure out if we still liked it.
And how did you do that?
We
What was the process like?
okay. For me, it was putting down my phone.
Yeah.
You know, people tell you all the time, hey, you got the social media numbers got to go up. Content. So that's the new carrot that dangles in front of your face for us, right? And so it was that. I was like, put that down, be more present, cook dinner together. Not that we weren't going to do our work and our stuff anymore, but like set time apart, walk the dog together, set time, even if it's just as small as this is the show we're going to watch together. Or, hey, we're not going to turn on our phones until 10. Or whatever those things were to reconnect and really be like, are we still compatible? Because at that point, I don't think either one of us knew if that is what was happening.
I think a lot of these questions start to come up when we start to have these problems, and they manifest in different ways. They can manifest in a healthy way where you start asking each other these questions, like, are we still compatible? Or they start to manifest in nitpicking and rage and passive-aggressive behavior. Did you notice any of that
Yes.
early on?
And I also noticed, and recently, and I can tell you recently, and one of the reasons I'm glad I turned off my phone is I could feel myself recently, both of us, sliding back down into that wheel. Like the last 3 weeks, and things get tense in our house. We're a little shorter with each other. We're when I see us downstairs in the morning, and I'm drinking a coffee and she's drinking a tea, and I'm in the living room and she's in the dining room, and we're both on our phones. I'm like, oh yeah, we're back. We're back into the being those people. And so I definitely feel a slip sliding back in every now and then. But the nitpicking and the jumping on each other, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And here's the thing. She is a very vocal person. She likes to talk it out. Guess who doesn't? You know what I like to do? No. Let's just be. Let's just figure it out as we go. I don't want to talk about it every day. I really don't want to talk. I just want to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
But she's like, this is how we're going to learn how to do it.
Right.
We're going to learn how to do it by talking about it.
Right. You kind of need a direction, right? And it sounds to me like that's what she's saying is,
yes.
Hey, we need to identify what direction in which we're traveling. And you're like, I just want to travel.
Yes. She wants us to be like, hey, if we have this schedule, like from here to here, this is how we're going to do this. We're going to do from 10 to 11, no phone. We're going to talk, we're going to just look at each other. We're going to take a walk or whatever we're going to do. And I want to be like, hey, let's just wake up in the morning with this is how we know we're supposed to do it. And she's like, yeah, but we don't do that. Yeah. We don't do that. We just slide into what we know best,
right?
Which is work.